Hey guys, it's Brad the Buff. I got my buff in my head and I'm ready to go. Today I wanted to talk to you about the tarp that I got. This is my Big Agnes Onyx Carbon Tarp. I got this on sale actually online on Facebook from a guy. I got it about half off, which is one of the reasons I got this. This is a very expensive item. It's $500 new. I got it for $250. I was pretty excited to get this. The main reason I got this tarp item is there are a lot of trips I take where there are shelters located, I don't know, every 8 to 10 miles. A lot of the Appalachian trails like that, and I section hike that. And so a lot of times I end up bringing a 3.5 pound tent that I never use. I just needed something in the emergency that the shelter was full and it was raining and I had to be outside. And so for me, being able to drop weight that I know that I'm probably not going to need to use, because those shelters are almost never taken up when I go. I typically go in off-season times. Seemed like a great idea to me. So where I went from a 3.5 pound tent, I'm now down to this tarp, which weighs about 8 ounces. I think I'm at 11 ounces with my polycro floor total with 2 poles. And so I just want to show you guys some of the setup. When I'm taking this on my trips, especially the ones with the shelters, I'm never actually planning on using this. So really it's just like an emergency shelter. Some people do all of their backpacking in these. I'm thinking about doing a medium level trip in this just to try it out as an actual shelter. But I had a lot of fun playing with it. I had a lot of fun putting this video together to show you the different setups that I used. When I went to buy this, I couldn't find all of the different ways that you can use it that satisfied me. Some things I didn't show you in the video is you can set this up with 1 pole. I use 2 poles in all the setups in my videos. It does come with a pole. So you can set it up so that it just pitches straight down to the ground. I didn't like it because my feet get tight and jammed up against it. If you're a little bit shorter, that probably wouldn't be a problem. For me, I got an extra pole out of my copper spur that works really well with this. The other thing you could do is you could set it up using trees as your pole points, which you wouldn't have to carry a pole at all. I do not like to have to rely upon finding trees and being stuck in certain spots. So for me, I'd rather just bring the poles are about 2 ounces, 2.5 ounces each. So I'd rather bring the poles with me as opposed to having to find the perfect tree. But other than that, some other things you can do I didn't show you in the video is if you want to have less exposure, you can lengthen or take out a length of your pole. So just take out, the poles come in 3s, they break down, just break them down to 2s. So it'll only be this high off the ground, but you won't have less exposure at the end. Anyways, I'm excited to show you this video that I have together. I do plan on using this more. It may also come into use if I ever do some hammock camping, which currently I do not do, but I do have this for the future. So anyways, this is my Big Agnes Onyx Tarp Carbon. And carbon in Big Agnes is always for the Dyneema fiber shelters that they produce. If it has carbon on it and it's Big Agnes, that means that it's Dyneema Cuban fiber or DCF, which is exactly what this is. So anyways, here's the video. Hope you guys like it. Okay guys, I just want to demonstrate your classic A-frame setup. This is the setup I'm going to use if I have 2 people. Both of these ground sheets are about 4 feet wide, so you can see kind of how they fit in there. They fit about a foot in from each side. You don't really need the full 4 feet. I just have it, I would tuck the extra underneath. Really, you only need about 3 feet. But let me walk around. It's going to take 8 guy lines with stakes. I use just titanium J stakes, just the shepherd hooks, the titanium shepherd hook stakes. You got your long line out, and then you're going to have 1, 2, 3 along the ends to kind of button it down. It's a little bit windy today, so today's a pretty good demonstration. I could tighten this up a little bit if I wanted to get some of this out, but you're not going to be able to get completely, you know, you're not going to get it. It's a pretty loose structure, so you're never going to be able to get all the shake of it out, but you can do it down. It took me about 5 minutes to set it up, so it is a fairly quick setup, and that was even in the wind. So let me walk around real quick. These are some other spots, and these are on here specifically if you want to add some guy lines to pull out the sides. So you got a couple of these little round areas that are like fused into the tarp, so you can pull it out if you want to get a little bit more space, or you could, you know, take it if you were in some treat areas, you could take it and actually pull it up to give yourself a lot more space. That's an option on this, which is great. The way it's oriented, so that if you have it set up like I do, is there's two on each side, so you could really get a lot more headroom that way. This is just the back, obviously same. I have 2 poles on this. This second pole, it comes with what they call the ridge spreader, and what it does, it goes down the middle to either make it so you can put it between these 2 spots here, and it'll give it a little bit more security, or you can put it and make it wide at the top. But I have it on each end because I don't want to have to rely upon trees. So the second pole I have is actually the cross pole from my copper spur HV-UL2. It's the exact same dimensions as the other one almost. And I just happen to have it. They're both 40 inches tall. So if you get another 40-inch pole, you can use it. What you got to do is make sure that it'll button down inside these little grommets at the end. They're kind of an elasticy material, and it's got to go over the head, as you can see. See this has a little tab, and it's got a little hole. Let me show you one that doesn't have one. See these tabs? They have a little perforated hole in them, so if you have something that'll fit over top of them, it'll stay in it. Or you can just put your guy line in it and pull it out. So this is basically the inside. You can see I got 2 polycro ground sheets out to show you kind of how your sleeping would be. You'd probably want to be a little bit tighter than this just to get fully inside. It's an 8.5 foot by 8.5 foot area, so if I get in here, I am completely covered. My feet are in by about 1 foot, and my head's got about 1.5 feet. So I would be fairly well protected by the rain. If it was raining really hard, what I'd want to do is I'd want to take one of these ends and try to get it as close to a tree or something that had coverage as I could. And then that way, this side would be at least protected from the weather, and I could scoot back a little bit more so that at least my head wasn't getting dripped on or something if it was windy. And the other thing I did is with this polycro ground sheet here, I kind of updated it. I got a 8 foot by 10 foot polycro sheet, cut it in half. And then this side, I just used double-sided tape and kind of made a little pocket down here at the end. And what I use that for is inside of my backpack. It's like a waterproof pocket, so when I have it in my backpack, it becomes just like a extra sealant for my stuff in there. So I'll put my sleeping bag and wrap it like that, just to give some more protection inside of my backpack. But when it's out, what I can do is I can stick the feet of my sleeping bag and my stuff down in here, so that when I'm sleeping, my feet are actually covered by this edge in case there is a little, you know, if it's misting or something, it's not going to get the end of my sleeping bag wet. It's just going to drip on this, so it gives me a little bit of protection if I have to scoot down closer to one end. It also keeps my sleeping bag, my sleeping pad from sliding off and off of this sheet. It kind of keeps it all together inside this. So I'm going to tuck my sleeping pad down inside of this little co-made. Like I said, all I did is I took double-sided tape, put at the ends, and then just kind of sealed it all together. Just clear double-sided tape that came with it. I'm going to put my sleeping bag, or my sleeping pad, my sleeping bag, and then when my feet are in here, they're all just kind of covered, so that if there is some splashback coming from out here, it's not going to get directly on my pad or my feet. But I would feel pretty comfortable with 2 people in here. Like I said, it's a light shelter. It feels fairly roomy to me. If I had to get up, I can sit up inside of it. My head is touching a little bit, but nothing that's uncomfortable. If it was just me, I could cook you know, right over here if I needed to, and I'd still be covered. So really like this setup. And I'll show you some other setups you can do with it as well, but this would be the one that I would opt for. This would be the one that I would opt for 2 people. Okay, this is the pitch I like maybe the most. This is a diamond pitch. So now I've taken my corners and now I'm corner out with my longer guy lines. And what this does is it makes it a little bit longer. So if you're an individual on the inside, you have a lot more space. And I feel like as long as I pitch it along the wind line, the wind's going to go up and over easier. It doesn't have quite as much headroom, but there's a lot more space on the inside. So this is how I think I would pitch it if I was solo. Let me show you the inside. I've got just a little bit more head coverage. Now I'm deeper in, and if you can see my feet here, I've still got plenty to go before I get to that pole. So I can really get in and have about 3-4 feet this way and about 3 or 4 feet that way of head coverage. And I also get all this coverage to the left and to the right of me. I can still sit up. It's a little bit tight for me. But I could definitely sit in here and, you know, eat my breakfast or whatever I needed to do. But it would be hard to get 2 people in here because it is diamond shaped. What it's relying on is the fact that you don't have to have, you know, my head right here is exposed, but right here it's a foot under. So if you had 2 people, your feet would stick out the edge. You got to be right down the middle of this thing in order for it to properly cover you. But once again, it's only about a 5 or 6 minute pitch, and that's with me without much experience. So I really feel like I could get that pitch down to 2 to 3 minutes once I figure out how I was doing it. And today it was in the wind. You can see from the film, stuff was blowing everywhere, and I'm still not super familiar. But after doing it a few times, I think I would really get it pretty easy. But anyways, this is the pitch I think that I would use if I was just out by myself, to give myself the maximum space and then the most coverage overhead, so I don't have to worry about, you know, getting rains or, you know, any mist on me in the morning. So let me show you one last pitch that I really like, and, you know, that'll be it. All right, this is the third setup that I really like for this. It's almost set up like a tent. This would be in extreme weather when I had a lot of exposure. And so what I've done is it is in the same diamond pattern that I had for solo, except I've taken the two ridge poles and I've actually put them through the inside grommets right here. And I'll show you that on the inside of the tent. And there, I've used those spreader grommets, or whatever you want to call them, the guy outline areas, and put these on the inside so that I could be fully covered in the event I got into some kind of raging storm. So let me show you how I do it from the inside. I got this, I kind of use as my door in and out. This would not be a super comfortable way to get in and out. You can always pull this stake up and the tent won't collapse because of tension. So I can pull this stake up, I can kind of enter in through here. Now I'm on the inside. I'm going to re-stake down where I just pulled it up. So that's right here. Let me get my stake on it with one hand while I'm holding my camera, which is kind of different. So I've got that re-staked. And then what I've done is I have this clip that you can see. It's a double-sided clip that I keep with the tent. I'm gonna put this here. I can clip this other door. I can clip this other door down just like this. Let me kind of zoom in on that a little bit. So now that I'm on the inside, this is what I've done as far as these poles. There's grommets right here that you can kind of attach in, and you can see my pole is pushing up and putting pressure on this to keep it in, and I've got everything kind of staked down from the inside. And so now I've got full weather protection all the way over my head through my feet. There's only a little bit of a gap here. It's very small and I could tighten it all the way to the ground if I needed to. I've got a pitch that comes all the way down. So there's no way, I mean, the wind could still blow in underneath, but all the way down through my feet, I'm very protected. And I've just got a pole on each side of me holding this thing up from the inside. So it's almost set up like you would set up a trekking pole, a double pole trekking pole tent, where there's a pole on the edge. This would act as my vestibule area over here. And like I said, this is probably the hardest setup that I figured out, but it's the most protective. So I just like to have it as an idea in the event that I ever got into a storm. But there you have, there's the three different ones that I kind of like for two people. The one that I like the most is the A style. For one person, it's setting it up at the corners. And if the weather is really inclement and I'm in quite a bit of storm, then I'll set it up like this, where I just put my two poles on the inside and stake it down from there, one on one straight out, one on each of the ends, and then one in the middle to just batten these down a little bit. So there you go. Hey guys, if you liked the video you just saw, please subscribe, click the bell so you can get alerted for any new videos that I may do, and check the links below for any information I described in the video. I'll try to put as much there as possible. Thanks for watching.